If you're suffering terribly, there's two options in front of you in some sense. One is you're suffering terribly and it's unjust, and you're suffering terribly because the cosmos itself is flawed in its fundamental structure. The other possibility is you're suffering at least in part because you're not everything you could be. And that's a terrible burden to take onto yourself because it's the burden of your own suffering, but it's also unbelievably hopeful. If there's something wrong with me, there's hope, because I might be able to fix it. But if there's something wrong with the structure of existence, so I'm fated to suffer in this way, then everything's despair. Yeah, well, it's a tricky business. When my daughter was young and she was really ill, I told her, don't you use your illness as an excuse, ever, because you'll confuse yourself. Then you won't know what you can do. You're going to have a hard time doing things. But if you use your illness as an excuse, if you corrupt yourself morally, which you have in some sense every right to do because of the depth of your suffering, and which would be perfectly understandable under the circumstances, it will do nothing at all but make the situation far worse.
So stop feeling sorry for yourself over what challenges are thrown at you. This is a part of the process. It is part of the journey. How will you ever grow if you never have any pressure? You should be thanking the universe for putting you through this. Because these problems you're having, these are the greatest opportunities to get stronger.
When you're committed, when you're invested, when you're all in, you can't throw in the towel. You can't just walk away.
There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about the things which are beyond the power of our will. If you were distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. You are arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. What are you looking at? To what goal are you straining? The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. Thus, death is nothing terrible, else it would have appeared so to Socrates. But the terror consists in our notion of death, that it is terrible. When, therefore, we are hindered, or disturbed, or grieved, let us never impute it to others, but to ourselves. That is, to our own views. It is the action of an uninstructed person to reproach others for his own misfortunes, of one entering upon instruction to reproach himself, and of one perfectly instructed to approach neither others or himself.
Every day, feed your mind with words that you write and words that you hear and words that you speak to yourself. Feed your faith, and your doubts will starve to death. Every day, it's a selling job on you. Say to yourself, it's possible. I can do this. I can make this happen. No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. Even when you have no evidence to point to, say to yourself, it's possible. There's nothing as powerful as a made-up mind. If you're going through some stuff right now, listen to me. Trouble does not last always. Judge not according to appearances, and say to yourself, I'm going to get through this. I'm not going to allow this to get the best of me.
If you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person. True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient for he that is so wants nothing. The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he is not.
Not only do you have to move from point A to B in life, but point A is often a very difficult place to be, because we're fragile and bounded and mortal and limited, and because we know that. And so one of the implications of that, as many great religious traditions are at pains to illustrate or demonstrate or proclaim, is that life is essentially suffering. And I believe that to be a fundamental truth. But but perhaps not the most fundamental truth, because I think the most fundamental truth is that despite the fact that life is suffering, people can transcend that. And partly the way they transcend that is by pursuing things of value. And so that if there is no value proposition at hand, then you have no meaning to justify the difficult conditions of your life. And that's brutally difficult for people. You know, Nietzsche said, he who has a why can bear any how. And you see, and I've certainly seen this as a clinical practitioner, that people who have no purpose in their life are embittered by the difficulties of their life. And they become first bitter, and then resentful, and then revengeful, and then cruel. And there's plenty of places to go past cruel. That's just where you start if you're really on a downhill path.
Most change starts with the simple process of something outside of us, altering something inside of us. If you begin the inward journey and start to change your inner world of thoughts and feelings, it should create an improved state of well-being. If you keep repeating the process in meditation, then in time, epigenetic changes should begin to alter your outer presentation, and you become your own placebo.
You know, your personality creates your personal reality. That's it. And your personality is made of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. So if you keep thinking the same way, you keep acting the same way, you keep feeling the same way, everything stays the same in your life, because nothing changes in your life until you change, right? Mm-hmm. So turns out if you keep thinking the same way, making the same choices, doing the same things, creating the same experiences, and feeling the same emotions, or responding to your life in the exact same way, you keep doing that, your biology tends to get more rigid. We fire and wire the same circuits, we hardwire our brain, and it only takes a small stimulation or a small thought or a response to someone or something, and like a sequence of thoughts, it just turns on automatically. So your biology, your neurochemistry, your neurohormones, your genes, everything stays the same because you're the same. So crisis and trauma is always the thing that gets a person to really start looking at, how do I really change, right? So we want to tell people, let's not wait for that. Mm-hmm. Let's learn and change in a state of growth and inspiration. So if you keep doing those same things over and over again, the middle life period, we become very, very programmable. So in order for us to change, we have to become conscious of how we think. We have to become really aware of how we behave, what our habits are, even how we speak. Now, this is a tough one. We have to really look at the emotions that we live by every single day and say, wow, this actually could be unworthiness. This could actually be guilt. But if you're too busy with your cell phone and your social media, and you're too busy with your kids and running around and your environment can distract you from these feelings. So my interest is to get people to retreat from their lives, right? Just for 5-7 days and remove the constant stimulation in their external environment that reminds them of who they think they are as a personality. To separate themselves from the people they know and the places they go and the things they do at the exact same time, and then fill their brain with knowledge and information, and then remind them that they're actually creating their life. So if your personality creates your personal reality, that means then in order for you to change your personal reality, you got to change your personality.
The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, insofar as it stands ready against the accidental and the unforeseen, and is not apt to fall. We should not, like sheep, follow the herd of creatures in front of us, making our way where others go, not where we ought to go. Self-improvement is a kind of evolution, where the mind acquires a taste for things that are noble and divine. It gradually rises to the contemplation of the supreme good, and becomes at last a living emblem of wisdom, a masterpiece of art. Do not be satisfied with the petty things of life. Aim at something great and noble, and your life will become a shining example to others.